Good evening, everybody. I am Jackie Naughton. I am one of the high school counselors, and we're going to be co-hosting today with
Deb Brown. Thank you for your patience. We just had a few technical issues we had to get taken care of, but we are good to go.
So we are excited to share some options with you in regards to Northern Virginia Community College. They've got a lot to offer academically, a lot to offer in regards to transfer opportunities to four-year colleges, and a lot to offer in regards to just getting out into the workforce after earning your associate's degree. So we wanted to get going on that. We also have a couple options here. We have Sandra Hunter, sorry about that, our Career Center specialist. She has also joined us and is waving. So she is going to help us as well answer your questions. We do have a Padlet, which has been shared with parents, and the Padlet allows you to ask questions and get them answered in real time. But we also are thinking that it is very possible if one of the parents who's in right now would like to just send a message, just say a hello, how are you in the chat, so we can see if the chat function is working for you. If the chat box works, that might be our fastest way to be able to get answers for people with a smaller group. The reason why we use a Padlet most of the time is because if the numbers get higher, then the chat box the function doesn't work. So we're just going to check for a second to see if a parent is able to use the chat box. It looks like a little speech bubble. And so if somebody could just write hello, welcome, or nice to see you, then we will see if that is functioning. Okay, it appears as though the
Sandy said good evening.
Chat box is not functioning for outside of school staff. So we are going to use the Padlet. Hopefully you received access to that. If not, please raise your hand to let us know that you need some access to contacting us. And we are going to keep moving and give you some great information on Northern Virginia Community College. It won't move.
You're not plugged into the notes. Right? Oh, you're in your keyboard. All right. There, changed.
Okay. Okay, so this is just kind of an interesting little kickoff. A lot of times in the past, people have talked about community colleges and they've said, students will say, hey, it's like a grade 13. And they don't see it as, as the same as four-year colleges. But boy, I mean, from the years that Ms. Brown and Ms. Hunter and I have been here, the switch in community colleges and the perception of community college has really, really changed. Definitely to the point where they are seen as very viable solutions. They are seen as viable options for our students, both financially and academically. And this is just kind of one of those little caveats that says some of these people went to community college and look at what they managed to accomplish in their lifetimes. So quite a variety of people. And we found that community colleges offer great opportunities for students and for families. Ms. Brown?
Yeah, so we spoke with the students last week. We had a representative from NOVA come speak with them. We had about 60 something students, I would say, in the lecture hall during advisory. And these are some of the things that we talk with them about, the advantages of going to NOVA. There are a lot of great reasons why students might choose going to a community college over a four-year university. One of the things they emphasized was the open access. They want all students to be able to access higher education. They explained to the kids that all students would be accepted, that you would not have to do the essay, you do not have to take SATs, that you really just need to apply and you would be accepted and have access to that higher education. They also spoke about the small class size. I know we reminisced about going to a large university. I think there was 500 students in my freshman psych class, but they really, were able to say that the biggest classes they have, the biggest, I think, were upwards of 30. So just having that small class size, to be able to interact with peers and professors and get to know people and really have that small interaction is something that they really pride themselves on. The transfer opportunities, we'll talk later in the presentation about some of the programs and the specific things that have to happen for students to transfer. But for students to be able to stay home and be able to save some money, to be able to work, and then to have that opportunity then transfer to the four-year university of their choice, particularly in the state of Virginia. There's a credible flexibility of class schedule. The fact that they have 5 campuses, I believe, 6 with the medical, all around Northern Virginia, means that students can create a schedule that works for them regardless of what their situation is. They have access to classes on Saturdays, I don't know, probably Sundays as well, late into the night, or their classes start as early as 6 a.m. All around the year. And then they have things where classes can be just a short number of weeks, but for more hours, they can go over the summer. I mean, it's just insane the amount of flexibility they have in students in terms of creating a schedule that works around their particular situation. And then finally, the main thing, and I think the main reason most students think about it, is to save that money. Okay, as you can see there on the slide, I believe this was for a semester of just tuition. Mason was about $6,200, and Nova falls significantly below that, $2,000 to $3,000. So for students, and then, like I said, and that is just the tuition, never mind the books, the activity fees, and then if they were to stay in a dorm, and the food and the housing and all that other stuff. So you can see side by side the amount of savings students have when they go to Nova. We explained to them how you know, at community college, you take all your basic coursework, you know, in freshman and sophomore year, and then when they do transfer, majority go to Mason, but obviously they go to other schools. But then when they transfer, that's when they can really delve into their majors, but at an incredible savings if they decide to go to Nova. We're just figuring out how to move slides. Here we go. Okay.
So here's another interesting part about Nova. Frequently, it's seen as just academics and kind of very much a commuter school where students just come take some classes and then head back home, or head out to work, or whatever it may be. What they've really worked on is making the Northern Virginia community colleges a campus. They have really worked hard to build a community there. They have central areas where kids can eat, some restaurants, coffee shops. And if you look at this screen, these are things that students have in the past not associated with community college or with Nova in particularly. They've usually thought you take some classes and then you leave. So what's really nice about the way they have expanded is I think that they started to realize that in order to get students to buy in to the idea of going to community college, it had to feel more like college and less like high school. So they've really done an incredible job of saying, if it's really college, there's more to offer than just academic classes. So if you take a look at this screen, we're talking about intramurals, athletics, performing arts, student government, programs and clubs and organizations. So this really has that feel of a college campus, much more so than what was previously perceived as you just quote unquote took a couple classes at Nova. This is really about building community, much like they try and build at four-year colleges as well. And I'm going to let Ms. Brown speak to the mystery bus because she heard about that the other day.
Hey, this was a new one for me. I had never heard about this, but she said it's for probably their most popular sort of extracurricular they have there. It's called the mystery bus, where you pay some kind of fee and they tell you kind of what to wear and what to bring, and you don't know where you're going. You get on the bus and it could be like Six Flags, it could be rock climbing, it could be to a museum, it could be like anything, and you're just signing up for the mystery, and it's kind of cool. That's what a cool fun thing to do, and try to meet people and do some fun activities with some of your peers in your classes.
I feel like I want to go on the mystery bus now. Actually, before we get into this supportive piece of your goals, I just wanted to make sure if there is one of our parents, if you could possibly just type on the Padlet, just say, hello, Miss Naughton and Miss Brown. That would be great. We just want to make sure the Padlet's working, because as we're presenting, since we are not able to see a chat function for you, it could be that you have a question or that there's things you want us to stop and explain a little bit more. And we're not really sure if that's happening. So we wanted to make sure that the Padlet's working. So if somebody could just type a quick hello into the chat box, that would let us know that at least you have access, whether you have questions or not yet. So we're just going to pause for a second and take a look at what happens with activity in the Padlet.
If you click on the link, it should look like a cork board. Did I see something? No, nothing in the chat.
And sorry, one of the things, if you want to type on the Padlet, at the bottom of the corkboard, there is a pink circle with a white plus in the middle. If you click on the plus, that allows you to add a comment or add a question.
Chat is up and running. So let's use, oh, there she is. Hello, now I can't see the presentation. Oh, because she's got the Padlet up, baby.
Okay.
All right, well, it works.
So here's our thought.
Looks like the chat bot works.
It looks as though the chat box function works
In the Zoom.
in the actual Zoom. So if people, so rather than have you have the Padlet up and then not be able to see the presentation, if you could check into the chat box, if you have questions as we're going along, we've got a couple different screens working here. Miss Brown's laptop can actually see the chat. So she would be able to respond in the chat if you have questions as we're going along.
Will do, thank you. All right, we got it.
Okay. So if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, we're going to keep rolling and let you know more about NOVA. Ms. Brown?
All right, so NOVA is supportive of your goals. So one of the things we really encourage with the kids is at NOVA is when they do go there, that there is so many resources for them to access once they get there. I just found it was just really hard to, they have just covered every angle to make sure your students are successful. If a student runs into some issues with a class, they have student tutors. They have a whole center where you can go and sign up. You can get one-on-one tutoring, people to read your, you can read right on here, somebody read papers and give you critique and edits on those, help you with citation, small group study skills. They have a whole range of things that students just need to take advantage of. And I think that's the hardest part for kids to be able to just go and access. And once they get there, they'll see how much support there is for kids. The libraries with NOVA, you're actually allowed to go to all the campuses. So there might be, the research materials you need might be at another campus, but you absolutely can go there and access those. When we've been on campus, I've seen myself, the computer labs, they have computers all over the place. Sometimes they're just randomly in the hallway, just a couple of computers where you could just sit down and get some work done. And they're starting to develop some really cool study spaces with some interesting seating and just different ways kids can, access each other and study, in between classes, that sort of thing. Research data, streaming, all kinds of stuff with their programs. And the one thing she really talked about too was just equipment loan. Like if you can't afford a computer or you need an iPad or you need a video camera for some sort of project, you just go sign it out. So again, all kinds of amazing things that they have for your students to be successful. Almost literally, they just need to ask if there's something that they need. We are changing slides again. There it is. Okay.
We're working on this, folks.
All
Thanks
right.
for your patience. Okay, so another great resource. So we've talked about the resources kind of in general for all students, but this is another thing. If you look on the Northern Virginia main page, there is a section called Services and Support, and you'll see it on the screen right now, underlined in kind of like a mustard yellow color. It says Service and Support. If you click on that, these are some of the categories that come up underneath. And we were doing a little bit of research on this in regards to accommodations and accessibility services. So students who may have a 504 or an IEP for a specific disability, they can take those with them to NOVA. So they can take those with them and then they would apply to get accommodations at NOVA. They definitely work on all kinds of reasonable accommodations that may have anything to do with audio devices for support, talk to text technology. There's a thing called Note Taking Express. It is it's an app that can be used to have notes taken for you during class. There's ways to record the seminars. There's also accommodations that a number of students who have IEPs or 504s may have in regards to extended time on projects or extended time on tests and exams. Those are things that when you apply for those, you explain through your IEP with the right documentation. Those are taken under consideration by NOVA, and they are often granted as accommodations at the college level. And much like in high school, Nova wants to make sure that the reason why they don't want the reason you don't succeed to be because of a disability. They want you to succeed in spite of anything else. If they can remove obstacles for you that can help you succeed, that is what they are all about. The other thing that you would notice on here is actually those arrows bounced up on me a little bit, but when we look at the military and veterans, they honor the GI Bill at Nova. So it allows obviously a very cost-effective way to get through school that can also be granted to the children of service members, whether active duty or veterans. They're very much in regards of honoring both of those categories and doing their best to support financially in regard to flexible schedules. And again, trying to make sure that anyone who's coming through their door is going to have the opportunity to succeed. The last category that we've got highlighted there that we thought was extremely interesting was the ESOL or ESL, English as a Second Language Learner. Nova offers two different programs. They offer something called the ACLI, the American Culture and Language Institute. That is specifically designed to help English language learners to gain language skills that help them in everyday life. So life skills, assimilating to the culture, work skills, employment skills, and that can all be offered at Nova under the category of the ACLI, American Culture and Language Institute. And then they also have what is called College ESL. And that is programs and prep classes that are specifically designed to prepare second language learners to be successful in college. So it's almost, I would think of it as college prep at the college and in the college environment to prepare to take college classes. So they are working on such things as academic literacy, critical thinking skills, study skills, and anything that will help support a second language learner to then become successful, whether it be at Nova or at another university, but they really want to work on what those specific skills are for post-secondary education. So again, I don't think Ms. Brown and I can emphasize this enough. There are so many resources and supports that Nova has put into place. It's really just a matter of asking and just being proactive as a student. And that to me would probably be the biggest difference from high school to college. We definitely work with kids on self-advocating. We push it all of the time, especially as the kids get older. But once they get into college, it really does become an adult learning environment where if you want support and you want resources, ask. They put the responsibility back on students. Even with the students with the accommodations, they have to request. If they get an application and they were granted accommodations, they are responsible. The student is responsible for letting their professor know of the accommodations they have. They really kind of put that emphasis back on the students of taking control of their education. So it's a nice balance between students taking control and Nova being incredibly supportive.
Okay, and then along that same vein, talking about supporting students outside, that's all inside the classroom, but they also support students outside the classroom. So particularly with the pandemic and all the things that surround that, there have been a lot of situations, and obviously pre-pandemic, where students need support. They have food pantries for students who are having a hard time finding things to eat. They have, I think she said, something like 70 scholarships that students just need to apply for to help with tuition and books and school materials. They help you with your taxes. They have emergency grants. If students live in an apartment and say they come up a little short with rent a certain month, they could go down to the office and ask for the student emergency grant, and they could cover their rent for a month or so. They'll also work with students with financial literacy. They want students to be able to work on, I mean, most students are going to Nova to save money, but they will actually help them sort of plan and save, possibly to pay for future education or whatever their financial goals are. They're actually there to help them with that. There's all kinds of government resources, healthcare. They can help students without insurance, try to find insurance. Again, with the food access and then financial wellness. Again, they want to support students. They know that a student without these sort of basic needs are not going to be successful in the classroom. So they're there to support students in terms of what they need outside the classroom as well. How'd you do this? So just Yep. No, okay, all right. Okay, so then in addition, so at Nova is, like we said, it's just like a traditional college in that they offer a wide range of classwork. They offer a full honors complement of classes. So students have a choice. They can take honors classes as they want. You know, they can take maybe just in English or just in math or just in science, or they can apply for the honors program. As you can see on there, for the eligibility, they need just one of those four things. They need either a 3.5 GPA or a 1200 or a 25 on the ACT or a letter of recommendation. Any one of those things will give them the ability to apply for honors classes and or the honors program. It just depends on how committed they are, how many courses they want to take in terms of, you know, whether they want to be involved in the actual program or not. We emphasize to students all the time that you can be a great student wherever you go. If you want to be an honors student at Nova, you can absolutely do that. These are kinds of things that will look good on their transcript in terms of transferring when they actually apply to other schools. If you feel like you're capable and can handle an honors course, it's something that will absolutely look good on your resume. It also will give them access to professors who do research and do probably more extensive things within the coursework in which they are tied to. And it just gives them absolutely more opportunities to do that. Smaller class sizes. Yeah, all kinds of benefits to doing honors coursework. But I don't think kids always realize that they have a full honors complement there and some amazing professors that go along with that coursework.
Okay, so Miss Brown and I have been kind of going through a number of things. We've kind of been keeping our eye on the chat. I just saw another thing pop up. Are there Nova counselors to help understand workload or honors?
100%. They have, just like here, they have a full range of counselors that work with students. I believe the counselor who was with us last week, Salam Asalam, I think her name was, she was outstanding. I thought she did a great job in the presentation. So how they do it is kind of cool. I believe she will be the one that will work with most of the, if not all, the Lake Braddock students. So they actually have a counselor who kind of knows our school really well and works with just our students. So when we get onto the next slide, you'll see it is like they have a whole meeting with their counselor when they're picking their classes, the initial time that somebody will actually help them and talk to them what their goals are and help them recommend what their next step should be. Is that the whole question? Okay.
Yep. So this is when we get to the nitty gritty of things. So how do students enroll? One of the things so right now, as the fall kind of starts to roll and into winter, if students are applying to a four-year college, you start hearing the bubbling. You start hearing the bubbling of like, I need a transcript. I need to apply. I've got a deadline. I've got SATs. I've got all these things going on. And students who are thinking of doing Nova after high school kind of get caught up in that mix. And frequently, I know Ms. Brown and I both probably run into this where kids come down like, when do I have to apply? When do I need my transcript? When do I have to take the SAT? So the catch on that is it is not something that has to be a fall. It's not a fall process for Nova. So students who have kind of set their mind into going to Nova as a first step or as their final post-secondary step when they leave high school, they can actually breathe in the first semester and simply focus on doing their absolute best that they can in high school. So they can focus on their classes, they can focus on doing well in their classes, particularly English classes and math classes, because as they roll into Nova, they will want to have done well in their English and math classes. So that process really doesn't start until late winter, early spring. And then students can apply. We have done many workshops where we just literally sit down with the kids as they do their Nova application. It's very self-explanatory. There's a couple questions in there that just are uncommon for kids. Some of the language is uncommon for students, but Ms. Brown, myself, and any other counselor up here starts to really recognize what it is that the school is asking. So we have done Nova application workshops in the spring where we can have students sit with us, if we do a workshop and if they attend, and they can knock that out in, I'd say 40 minutes, maybe less.
Probably less.
And so at that point, even with the transcript, they can ask us for a transcript. Their transcript, though, is not complete from high school at that point. So it's usually not until the very end of the year that they would then be requesting a transcript, because that's the transcript that shows that they're graduated, that they have all the things that they need, and that they are ready to move on to NOVA. So once they apply is when they would get a NOVA ID number and a ability to log in. So what's great about that is that really gets them to the point where they can start exploring. They have access to all the things on it's called the My NOVA account. So they have access to what classes are coming up. When are they offered? Maybe a student wants to take a jump and start in summer on 1 or 2 classes. There's a class called SDV 100 or 101. It's basically kind of a college prep. Everybody has to take it at NOVA. So some kids decide, this is where I'm going to get my feet wet. I'm going to do that in the summer. I'm going to take that 1 credit class in the summer just to get a feel for what NOVA is like, and just to get over to the campus and start experiencing what that is like. So that's a great way to get, kind of get in the door, start getting settled in, get familiar with the campus, all those kind of things. And then they can start signing up for their classes. And these are processes that the NOVA counselors can help with. And it's also things that if we run workshops in the spring, we really encourage students to come to, because we can work with them. NOVA does a fantastic job on their website. If you want to do accounting, it does a great job of breaking down what classes you would take every single semester to get through in 2 years. It is basically laid out for you. These are the classes you would take every single semester, so you know exactly how to move forward. It's really well done. So that, again, if students are starting to get anxious and they're starting to get nervous because they haven't done something yet, they are okay. They can coast in the fall and in the early winter because they are just focusing on Lake Braddock work and doing well. And then we can start them on the process of NOVA. It is what's called rolling enrollment. It is not something where if there is a deadline by June 1st, they cannot apply. That's simply not the case. They can apply up until the time school is, I think, about a week before school classes are starting in August. The only thing we advise against that is because classes might be full. So we really push our kids to leave Lake Braddock with a plan for their future.
So we're asking, what was the name of that course? I believe it was SDD.
It's called SDV.
I don't know what it stands for, but it's a real basic course that helps students learn to be successful, like how to approach a professor, how do you address an email, like kind of really basic tasks that some students don't always have in their repertoire in order to be successful, how to find resources. It's like I said, it's a sort of like a college 101, how things work, how to advocate for what you need. I think they do a self-interest inventory, kind of figure out like what their strengths are, that kind of thing. So it's a real good class. But you're looking it up.
So of course we're looking it up.
We're Googling it at the moment. We're going to try to find it out.
So SDV is a student development course. And again, what it's looking at is how do you have skills in regards to managing your time? How do you have skills in regards to planning and preparing for class? And also planning for why you're in school to begin with. What are you doing here? What are you hoping to get out of that? And where are you planning on this taking? So like career decision making, financial literacy, critical thinking. So see, these are some of the things that they emphasize. It's SDV 100. And that is something that all students will take. It's a 1 credit class, but it's a great way to get in, get good skills, and get your first A, and get yourself, start yourself off with a 4.0. So that's one of the things that the SDV is.
So again, though, the counselors do a really good job. Again, I know it's kind of scary for kids, even parents, when you're just enrolling and what to do next. So they offer sessions that you can attend. And pre-pandemic, we would offer a field trip. So typically we would take 50 kids a day for a couple days over to NOVA, and we'd go take a tour. We do all of those kind of things, but obviously the last 2 springs, we've not been able to do that. I checked with Ms. Hunter and I said, we're just not sure what this spring is going to hold or what it's going to look like, whether we're going to be doing a virtual event like this, or if we're going to actually be able to take some kids over there. So we're just telling kids to just, keep posted, keep listening for announcements in the springtime to see what we're able to pull together. But we will absolutely be doing something in the spring to connect with the NOVA kids to make sure we have a good number of kids from here who are going to go to NOVA, and we want to make sure everybody has what they need and they're set to go.
Okay. So this slide we've actually kind of talked through quite a bit, getting started at NOVA. So this is again on the first page of NOVA when it's talking about applying. It walks you through, how do I apply? There's the other nice thing that the NOVA website does is it typically does things either in a written format where you can, some people are really good at like reading the directions, and some people want to see a video tutorial that shows them the visual click here, then click here, then click here. So what's nice is they do both. So you can either watch a tutorial video and then watch it back again if you get stuck, or there's often like written printed directions of how you can do what you need to do. It also has some testimonials from students who have been there and what their experience has been. So that's the getting started section is where we start moving kids to in the spring when we have our application sessions after school, typically after school. How are we doing in the chat, Ms. Brown?
We are good. Ms. Hunter said we're definitely going to do application workshops, and we got a thumbs up, so we are good.
Excellent.
Okay. So this again, what we talk with the kids about is the different kinds of degrees that you could focus on once you get there. So when students enroll and they're initially talking to the counselors, they talk to them about what their goals are. What do they want out of this? Are they looking to transfer? A vast majority are looking to transfer to George Mason. That's a very common path for our students going to the Annandale campus. But some students are looking for other things. So some students are looking for specific degrees, and some students are looking to go directly out in the workforce. So if you look at this sort of diagram on the left in the red, these are the degrees that students would look for to prepare to transfer. So you get one of these: Associates of Arts, Associates of Science, or Associates of Fine Arts. So within those, there are very specific, well, I don't want to say very specific, there's a guideline of what courses they need to take in order to meet the criteria for those degrees in there. So again, this is typically what a student would do in order to then transfer to George Mason or whatever other university they're looking into. On the right in the blue, they have a wide range of degrees that are short-term, that are specifically geared toward a specific line of work. So if they could do an auto body program for a period of time and get a degree in that and just go, they can do nursing where they just do nursing and then go. They can do just a range of things where they're just focusing on that career, just coursework directly related to that career. They get their certificate, and then they get their appropriate to go out and apply and work and go right into the workplace. So there's two different ways, two different routes students can go. So when they initially meet with that counselor, they talk through what the goals are so that the counselor can then advise them in terms of what coursework would be appropriate for them to take. Okay, and this is the agreement.
Guaranteed admissions agreement. So in this category, when we talk about students transferring to a four-year school, they started at Nova, they did plan to go eventually to a four-year college. All of these colleges that are on the screen, and this is just the current list, there's always the option that they may add other schools, you never know. But these all have what's called the guaranteed admissions agreement with Nova. What does that mean? And we've talked to students about this. Sometimes they jump the gun a little bit. They say, so if I go to Nova for 2 years, it means I automatically get in. Not exactly. What it means is that if you go to Nova and you do well, then you have guaranteed admissions agreement with these universities. Each one of these universities has a different standard. So for example, it could be the College of William and Mary might say, if you go to Nova for 2 years and you have a 3.5 grade point average at Nova, specifically in classes no lower than a B, maybe in your math and your English courses, then you are guaranteed admission to our program. What's nice about that is you already know that if you do well at Nova and you do well in your classes at Nova, you know at the very beginning of your program what the requirements are to be able to go to the next level, to go to the next to the four-year university without having to apply and hope that you get in. This is a guaranteed admissions agreement that they have with Nova based on criteria. Again, we want to make sure to emphasize it is a guaranteed admissions agreement, but there are standards within that agreement. It's not simply I go to Nova, I automatically get in. You've got to give it your best at Nova. You've got to be successful there, and you have to meet the criteria of each one of those universities that they lay out for you at Nova. But if you do that, then yes, you are guaranteed admissions into those universities without having to apply. So it's for, I think sometimes when students have felt a little if they have felt defeated, if they felt like they wanted to go to a certain school, and for whatever reason, high school, it just maybe took them a little longer to get started. It took them a little bit longer to get into the game in high school. And so whatever their GPA is or their courses are, were not quite what the university, the four-year university was looking for. What's great about this is it tells you you can still get there. This is not a closed door to you. This is okay, do a little bit of work on your way in, and then you can head there. So I think there is a huge motivation. I know Ms. Brown's had students who've done that.
Mm-hmm.
I had, I think very clearly about a student who was disappointed to not be going to a four-year, went to Nova and said, I'm going to do well. I'm going to nursing at VCU. Been in touch with her recently. She graduated from nursing at VCU and is now going on to get her master's degree in the medical field. So it absolutely happens, and it absolutely keeps kids motivated to keep on going.
I think this also speaks to the quality of the education that Nova is able to provide, that these schools are willing to take these students kind of sight unseen as long as they've met those requirements. I don't think this is the norm for a lot of community colleges around it, but Nova has an outstanding reputation. And I think, again, these agreements speak to that. But more information can be found at that right on the website, and the link there specifically for the guaranteed agreement that's on there. Okay. So if we go to that website, the specifics, they should be right at that. I haven't actually gone to that link myself, but I'm gonna guess that they're there. And if you can't find it, you just let us know. We can actually find those agreements for you. But I believe they're at that site. Okay. All right. So the advanced program, because of the sheer volume number of kids that go, a lot from Annandale, particularly that go to Mason, they created this program specifically for that. So this one is called Nova Mason Advance. So what students do is once they're accepted at Nova and they meet with those counselors, if they declare up front that they are going to go to Mason, they can apply for Mason Advance. There is a range of degrees, and I think it's growing. There's like a certain, as long as within a certain, like if you're going to study communications, or if you're going to study business, or whatever the specific degrees are, you can apply for this and be accepted. So then you'll be assigned a counselor who's specific to this. And as long as you do what they tell you to do, your junior year, you automatically you matriculate right into Mason. You do not even apply. You don't have to do anything else. You're telling them that when you start, that once I get my 2-year degree, I will go automatically to Mason. You go. The cool thing about this is while you're at Nova, you are also sort of considered a co-student at Mason. So as you can see in the picture there, that you get a Mason student card. So you can go onto Mason's campus. You can use their gym facilities. You can use their library. You can access coursework there too, while you're still taking classes at Nova. I will say though, if you take a course at Mason during this time, you will pay the Mason price, not the Nova price. Okay. But you can see from there that there's a range of perks that you get if you announce that up front and you get involved with this program. There's, again, because so many students are doing this, they recognize that, and they just wanted to make the pathway there kind of easy for kids, because so many of our kids are doing this. But really, really great program. And again, the vast majority of our kids who are going to Nova are actually ultimately going to transfer over to Mason.
How are we doing on the chat, Ms. Brown?
I think we're good. We have that's cool.
Okay.
I
thought it was actually really cool too.
What was that? Okay.
Did I just hear somebody?
All right. So
It was just me chiming in. We're all good.
Who's that voice? Where did that come from? Okay. All right. So the last couple of slides here, we're winding down now. Nova just threw in a couple of, I guess, sort of the career projections in terms of what are the hot jobs out there, what are the average salaries. So the kids were kind of really interested in this. Cybersecurity, I think, is always going to be number one. There's just not enough people to fill these positions. Anybody who gets a major in IT can work, you can pick and choose their work, whatever they want to do in this area in DC. Engineering and applied technologies, very similar. Okay, a lot of the kids want to do the fine arts. What else do we got? Health and sciences, again, that's another huge one. Nursing, they can't fill the positions fast enough. Education, at the moment, we cannot fill positions fast enough. We're happy to have anybody who's any remote interest in education. And finally, business. Again, in the DC area, these are probably the 6 major jobs that are trying to be filled at this point, and Nova can absolutely help get kids started on these pathways. I think might be the last slide. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of been quite a bit of information. And I think what Ms. Brown and I are both hoping is that the presentation that your students received last week, and that we're also going to be kind of definitely preaching out over the next several months, and the presentation that we gave tonight lets you know that there is a really strong quality education to be had right up the street in Annandale. There's campuses in Woodbridge. There's one in Alexandria. There's one in Loudon.
Medical ones in Springfield.
And the medical one in Springfield. So there are a lot of great opportunities, whether a student wants to do 2 years and then transfer, or they want to do 2 years and go straight into the workforce and get a certificate. There are a lot of opportunities, and it is not about anymore just going. Now, the kids can go do their coursework and then move on with their life and just kind of go work or go with family or do what they need to do. That's 100% possible. But they've also really started to do outreach for those who want a college campus feeling. And they've really built some things in there that let students know, no, this isn't just grade 13. You are a college student just like everybody else. And they've done great resources to make sure people are successful. And they've also built in a community into that school. So we're really proud, Ms. Brown and I, and Ms. Hunter as well. We're really proud to be representing Nova today and to be giving this presentation. We both jumped at the opportunity to represent this and maybe share some things that people had not expected to hear about Nova. And that's kind of what we wanted to make sure that you got out of this evening.
I think we also just want to encourage your students, and maybe you as well, to just listen for the follow-up meetings that are going to come later in the spring when we do these application workshops in the springtime. If we are able to take a field trip over there, again, not knowing what the spring is going to look like, but we're definitely going to be available to help your kids in the spring, get their foot in the door and get them started on their journey. So if there are any last questions, thank you very much. Okay, because that's a great option. If you have any other questions, you can throw them in the chat. Well, we can definitely hang around here for a minute or two if there are any further questions. Otherwise, I think that is the conclusion of our presentation this evening. Thank you so much for coming.
Any last questions?
Oh, everybody's gone. Okay. All right, how do we unrecord?
Okay, so stop. Stop